What is going on with the A's? I can't even call them Oakland A's anymore. They're moving to Las Vegas. This is kind of old news, but I wanted to dig into it a little bit as I've been trying to follow this and get as much information as I can. And honestly, I'm wearing a Oakland A's jersey out of respect for the fans because I feel bad. And it's ironically not one I would normally wear. It's a Matt Olson jersey, signed. I put on a signed jersey for this. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about the A's. It feels like it's a foregone conclusion. We've seen this movie before when Commissioner Manfred basically came out and talked about the fans that showed up for that protest night. His thoughts on it was just like, well, essentially, it's great to see fans there.
Welcome everybody to Touch and Bases Podcast. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. We are 2 weeks into this channel and I don't know how many subscribers we have as of this video being posted. I'm looking to try to get an OG crowd of the first 100. I would love to get to a 1,000 probably by May. My goal is to put out a video every single day, and unfortunately I missed 2 days, so I'm calling myself out. I suck, but I'm back again and I want to discuss some controversial stuff going on recently, and that has to do with the Oakland A's, and it is obnoxious. The owner of the Oakland A's, Vegas A's, I don't even know what to call him anymore. John Fisher, the owner, comes from a very rich family who purchased the Oakland A's, the A's. I'm just going to stick with A's. I can't even call them Oakland A's anymore, can I? They're still playing in Oakland for 2024, so Oakland A's. Came from a very rich family. His daddy is the owner of Gap. Now, if you don't know what Gap is, it is where I don't go to get my clothes. He decided to take over the family business and then also purchase the Oakland A's a few years back, and it's been downhill. Now, in 2020, they did decide to go to the playoffs and played probably their best year in years, but unfortunately, they didn't make it all the way, and it's just been a downhill decline to last place as they have one more year left in the Oakland Coliseum before they go bye-bye to Las Vegas, as it was officially announced not too long ago by the commissioner and also by John Fisher, who had no real remorse but more excitement to be going to Las Vegas and didn't even decide to apologize to the fans for honestly claiming that he made an effort, but they really didn't make much of an effort. And in fact, in his statement that he gave to the press during the announcement that they were finally going to Las Vegas after supposedly a 10-year fight to keep him in Oakland, he went on record just before this saying that he blamed fans for the team failing, which is pretty obnoxious given the amount of support that the fans of Oakland tried to take all the way to City Hall to push to keep the team in the city, because all they wanted to do, they even found a new area to build the new stadium, and they even pressed their own case that it was going to be cheaper, it would be built faster in Oakland, and that the fan base would be in favor to support the team to keep them there. The team has been there since 1969, and the fan base is older than most teams that you see in the MLB, especially in Oakland. Now, the team has moved around a lot, but since 69, they've been in Oakland. And to say that there was no option from the owner and then also the commissioner, and then a unanimous agreement based on the relocation committee, which is what they talked about, or which they spoke of during the press conference, it was unanimous just to move to Las Vegas, which has zero fan base there. As far as I looked into, nobody in Las Vegas is looking forward to taking on a team that has an owner that has the lowest payroll and refuses to build a team and put money into the team and then decide to endorse that team as their own. It makes no sense as much as they want to fluff it up and make it seem that way, and it's very frustrating, even as a baseball fan in general, because I sympathize with the Oakland A's being a fan of a team like the Mariners where the owner doesn't want to budge, but luckily for the Mariners, they have a front office that can manage through that and work with what they have. But Oakland, it's almost like having a front office of the Rockies but less budget, and that is killing for fans that are dying to have a 2020 team again, but now they get to lose their team altogether. Rolling into the fans, they're threatening to boycott the entire 2024 season. Most of them aren't even going to show up to opening day, which is understandable at this point, which means that they're going to be losing quite a bit of money just because of their decision, and I think it's going to affect John Fisher pretty heavily, and he's going to see that. But I also don't see how spending 1 point some odd billion dollars on a new stadium in Vegas, where on the Strip there's really nowhere to build a stadium, and speaking of which, they don't have a render. They try to come up with a drawing of an outline, but there's no land to actually build on in Vegas that is big enough to contain the renters that they have. And if they do downsize it, they have to cut back on parking, which is going to be a big issue if the stadium is supposed to hold up to 40,000 people, 30,000 people, even 20,000 people. I don't think that's going to be an issue because I don't think anybody's going to show up to a Las Vegas Athletics team because baseball is not huge in Las Vegas. Places where they probably should have gone: Nashville, Tennessee. They could have gone to Memphis. They could have gone to a lot of different places where baseball is very heavy and has a very good established and well-grounded financial system around the city. Not Vegas. It's where people go to lose money and not where people go to live to enjoy baseball. It's just not reasonable. On top of that, you're going to have to build an indoor stadium. The middle of summer in Vegas is way too hot to play. Nobody's going to want to play on that team, and no one's going to be able to perform due to heat issues. You've heard of rainouts. Have you ever heard of a heat out? Arizona doesn't have to deal with it because they have an indoor stadium, which is going to cost them even more money if they are to go to Las Vegas. I shouldn't say if. They're going. Coliseum lease expires next year in 2024. So that means they have one more season in the Coliseum in order to play there before they move out. The problem is it's going to take 3 years for the Oakland A's to build a stadium in Vegas. So what are they going to do? They are going to take over the AAA team stadium of the Giants. It is something healthcare stadium. Nobody in Las Vegas is going to become a fan of their home team that plays at a AAA level just to watch them 3 years prior to actually showing up in Vegas play on a AAA field where AAA fans show up in Sacramento. It's ridiculous. I know that they've thrown out other ideas as far as going to Utah, as far as playing in other cities, but I don't know if the demographic is really appropriate to have an Oakland A's team go to Utah, which has a very specific religious base that probably doesn't share the same insights as a Vegas goer, if you're catching my drift. I've heard this argument multiple times, and it's kind of valid in a way, but I don't know how much it's really going to affect the team because, honestly, I don't think this team has many fans left besides the ones in Oakland who may or may not convert over to be Giant fans. And Giants fans, they've already got plenty. So for the Giants, this is a win. For Oakland, it's sad. Another big issue for the next 3 years, if they are going to televise it in Sacramento, and instead of moving it to Las Vegas or anywhere closer to there, is another RSN issue. If you saw my last video, we were talking about RSN and how the regional sports networks, in case you're not following exactly what I mean by that, they're struggling to find a way to stream or to put on some of these teams. Now, Amazon took over for 11 teams. If your home team is Las Vegas, technically, but you're playing in Sacramento, your cable rights are not going to be allowing you to watch your home team. I don't know how people feel about that, but it's going to cause a lot of issues for Las Vegas fans to start building a liking to their new home team if the next 3 years they're not going to be able to even see them. The city council member of Oakland also put out in a news conference that the city was already able to raise $428 million secured to help build a stadium in Oakland and keep them there. That is pretty much almost half of what it would cost to build a new stadium in Oakland that they're claiming is going to be built in Las Vegas. So it would have actually saved Fisher money to build it in Oakland where the fans are demanding for them to stay. But because honestly, the only thing I can come up with is the fact that he doesn't want to stay in Oakland because Oakland already hates him. And he wants to get away and far away from the people that love their team so much because he doesn't want to fork up any money to actually create a good dynasty that could win a World Series. This is just my assumption, but I'm going to safely assume his greedy ass, who is the owner of Gap and the owner of a team that just profits free money for him, he wants to do bare minimum because he doesn't really give a shit about baseball. Another question I have, and I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but who was on that relocation committee? Because a unanimous vote tells me that no one there was a Oakland native that wanted to keep them in the city. I get it, a relocation committee, that's their job, but why would no one veto when you have these options like the city willing to pay $428 million to rebuild in Oakland and keep the team there where you already have a fan base, which would make the fans happier because then they're not going to a stadium that has a possum problem, a cat problem, a rat problem, and God knows how many other problems besides people having sex in the upper decks. Yeah, that happened. Another issue that I have is that there's too much buddy-buddy stuff going on with Manfred, the commissioner, and also Fisher, because with this relocation, he waived all the relocation fees for Fisher. I don't know if I mentioned this before. For having the lowest payroll team, Fisher is the 13th richest owner of all the MLB teams. He doesn't need a relocation fee waived. So whatever buddy deal that they did just to build a new stadium in Vegas and to get Fisher out of Oakland because he's hated by every single fan that's there, it's very fishy and I don't like it. I've never been upset with the politics and the way things are going with teams, especially teams that are technically, I guess, in my own division of my favorite team, but this is wrong on so many levels, and I wouldn't mind your guys' opinion down in the comments of what you think of this. If you're an Oakland A's fan, my condolences to you. I hope that you stay a fan of the A's, and I hope that maybe one day he sells the team to an owner that brings them back. Would you become a Giants fan once they leave? Are you planning to go to any games this season in 2024? Maybe as just a good riddance for the very last time. The only conclusion I can come up with is that Fisher hates Oakland. He's looking for any way to get away from them. And he gives no apologies for why he's taken the team away from Oakland, besides the own personal facts that we can assume. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching the video. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the bell so you get notifications whenever I upload a video. And we'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.
At every opportunity, the A's have made increasing demands on Oakland. And at every opportunity, we have risen to the challenge and overcome the hurdles placed before us. Instead of working with us, they have announced a land deal in another city. And I want to be very clear. This announcement happened mid-negotiations, and it shows that they had no interest in reaching a deal with Oakland at all. Oakland is not interested in being used as leverage in the A's negotiations with Las Vegas. And it is disrespectful to our residents and our fans to string the city along this way. We will not continue discussions under these circumstances and will instead work for a development deal that actually creates opportunities for Oaklanders